Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast from The Sober Club. I'm Janey Grace, and this is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. We'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there's inspiration from quit-lit authors, experts, and sober heroes. Hi and welcome to the podcast. I'm Janey Grace. Thank you so much for those of you who've joined the Sober Club this week. We've had a busy week. We've had an amazing time in the Facebook community. There's so many lovely people in there and lots of great discussions kicking off as well. So for anyone who's been listening to the podcast for the last few weeks, you'll know that we opened up the Sober Club on the 7th of September when we did the event with Sober Dave. But we're going to be closing the doors to founder members this weekend, just for a while we get even more content in the club. It's already rocking though, have to say. So if you are interested, this is your last opportunity to get in as a founder member at the ridiculously cheap rate, which is less than a couple of cups of coffee, really. And that's the price for the month. So you'll be very welcome if you want to come in as a founder member. At this point, you go to thesoberclub.com, then we'll welcome you into the Facebook community as well. You don't have to use the Facebook group. It's really important to stress that. But if you want to, you're very, very welcome. We also have trainings on Zoom, and there's lots of videos in there and audios and blog posts and lots of amazing information and an online course called Get the Buzz Without the Booze. And more resources that we're building up. So we'd love you to join us if you would like to be part of the Sober Club. And one discussion that comes up a lot, as I'm sure you can guess, is the chat about alcohol-free drinks and what can we drink when we're not drinking. And if you've heard any of my podcasts, you'll know that it's something I talk about a lot because I don't want nonsense kids drinks. I want a nice, decent, grown-up, alcohol-free drink when I go out. And so I thought today would be perfect to have Laura Willoughby as a guest. Laura Willoughby from Club Soda, the online community who do the most amazing work campaigning around alcohol-free drinks and mindful drinkers. They run the Mindful Drinking Festival. Laura's incredibly knowledgeable about all things alcohol-free. So we're going to be chatting to Laura, get some tips there, and she'll be telling us about the Pub and Club Guide, the Club Soda Guide, where you can find out which drinks are sold in which pubs and clubs, certainly in the UK. It's been interesting this week because a few things have kind of popped up in the press or on social media. I saw that someone posted on Instagram that they had received one of those, I don't know if it's an email or a card through the post that says, congratulations, it's your birthday. And here at Pizza Express, we'd love to offer you a free drink if you come, for a pizza on your birthday with your family or whatever, we can offer you free wine or beer. And then it mentions that there's a gluten-free option available. So she wrote back and actually outlined this on Instagram, wrote back and said, I don't drink alcohol anymore. So could I have the Peroni free, whatever it is, the alcohol-free beer instead? And incredibly, their response was no. This is quite new on our menu, but we do have a choice of 6 soft drinks that you can have instead. And quite rightly, her answer was, no thanks, I'll pass on that. I'm sober, not a child. And this needs to change, doesn't it? It so needs to change, this attitude. You would never, if someone wrote and said, could I have something, to replace the free dessert or whatever, and I'm, I'm vegan and sugar free, they wouldn't write back and say, well, actually, you would you just like some, Haribos with artificial sweeteners or whatever, would they? I mean, it's absolutely nonsense. So that was interesting, I thought. And then another thing that I saw pop up was someone had said that in a magazine article, they had been reading tips, one of these magazine articles on how you can save money leading up to Christmas. And the article was about how you can save £500 before Christmas. And one of the suggestions was to save money that you would normally spend by going out drinking. Why not just buy a bottle of wine and have it at home instead? Right. Here's a great idea. How about saving money by not drinking? There's a good idea. One of my top tips, actually, in case you haven't listened to all the podcasts, is to, when you're at the start of this journey, grab yourself a nice glass container, a jar or a vase or something that you can see through, basically, and go and get cash actually physically out of the cash point and put the cash that you would normally spend on alcohol in the vase and watch it mount up. It's a great physical representation. It's so much more comforting than just kind of taking a guess at how much you've saved or seeing those figures that, people have on the apps. I mean, the apps are cool too, but there's nothing like an actual physical representation there with actual notes, which you can then take out and spend on a real treat, on something that actually really is good for you. So, as promised, we have Laura Willoughby from Club Soda. Enjoy the interview. My guest is Laura Willoughby from Club Soda. And Laura, I think you were my very first guest on my very first podcast. So welcome back.
But isn't that because you don't know anybody else, Janey?
I think it was, actually. It was. So, thank you. Thank you for bearing with me.
That's okay.
And thank you for coming back. Just tell us just a little bit for anyone who doesn't know about you and Club Soda. Just give us a little potted history in a few minutes. And then we're going to pick your brains on amazing drinks and where to find them.
Yeah, so I set up Club Soda 4.5 years ago because after I gave up drinking, I realised there was a need for something that felt a bit more like a diet club, but with booze. Regardless of what our goal is, whether it's to cut down, stop for a bit or quit, we could all do with a bit of help. And so that's where it all came from. But also very quickly, just like you, Janey, I still like to go out to pubs and clubs and bars and found that there wasn't very much interesting to drink 4 years ago. So we started to do some research in that area. So we've ended up on this dual goal, really. Well, our aim is to create a world where nobody feels out of place not drinking, which means that might be about you and your own skills in navigating a very alcohol-centric world, or about how pubs and bars and restaurants need to change to accommodate and give permission to a new, wider range of drinkers. And so I think the two go together quite well, but it does mean that we do the festival, we know a lot about alcohol-free drinks, and we've now created the Club Soda Guide.
Fantastic. So just before we get into details of the guide, just for anybody listening who is fairly new to this and they're trying to navigate their way through grown-up drinks. I mean, I think we kind of all know that a Coke's a Coke and an orange juice is an orange juice, and they're for kids in our opinion. But with the kind of grown-up alcohol-free drinks, what are the parameters? Because it can get very confusing, particularly if you're buying a bottle of something in a supermarket or from one of the websites. When it says 0.5 or just give us the lowdown on all of that, just for people who are really confused. I mean, one thing just to add into that is that just recently on my group, people were saying that they'd been into a supermarket and all the alcohol-free stuff is mixed in amongst the alcohol. So confusing.
Yeah. Well, let me take a step back, because actually one of the questions that comes up a lot is why would you bother? And also, are you not just replacing one addiction with another?
I was going to come on to that, but yeah, thank you. Do that first.
Well, I think that's a nice place to start, actually. Yeah. So the first thing I would say is, actually, when I first gave up drinking, none of these drinks were around. So I actually bought a soda stream and went a bit mad in buying really expensive cordials and tonic syrups and stuff like that to try and find something to drink. Yeah. And what I didn't realise at the time was what I was looking for was something that wasn't sweet, that would go with food, that would replace that adult drink that I felt I needed in the evening. And I now describe it a bit more as, when you go out for an evening, why would you want something that you can get as part of a $2.99 meal deal in a petrol station? You don't. You want something that suits the occasion. And so when you're trying to change your drinking, and actually the truth is most of us still do drink at home, so it's all right to talk about the pubs and bars, but when you come to an end of a day, that alcohol has become part of your reward structure. You go, I've had a stressful day, I deserve a drink. The kids are in bed, I deserve a drink. This is my time in front of telly, now's the time for a drink. So it doesn't matter if you replace that with an alcohol-free drink. It doesn't mean that you're still keeping a bad habit. What you've done is you've replaced the substance that you're drinking instead to one that's not as harmful, but may still feel like a reward, feel grown up, feels like something that says this is the evening and not daytime. So you might want to consider that these drinks still have a place for you because they're good drinks in their own right, and therefore they may feel like a reward or a treat, particularly if they've cost quite a bit actually, and so you wouldn't want to drink them at lunchtime and have them in your water bottle. They definitely fit for a different space and they feel special, especially if you put them in a nice glass and you dress them beautifully, and what you've done is actually taken a mindful moment to create something nice for you. So that's the why you might want to. And I always say that the best example actually is with wine, which is, people often talk about alcohol-free wine not tasting as good. But I say part of the reason why it doesn't taste as good is because generally you would have drunk wine at any point in time in the evening, whereas actually alcohol-free wine really comes into its own with food. So, and it comes into its own because it's not so sweet, it's got some really interesting tannins, it pairs well. So you're finding the right drink for the right occasion. You're not creating a new bad habit. You're finding a new drink to go in that space.
Sure. But what about those people who panic that, oh my goodness, I might get addicted to alcohol-free drinks now, and I'm just, as you say, replacing another addiction now?
We bandy the word addiction around quite a lot, don't we? For anything that we quite like or might use on a regular basis, we start to use the word addiction in the same way as we use detox a lot, when of course it means everything from actually quite in a big medical process all the way through to having a herbal tea bag in the
Exactly.
So what I would say to this is an alcohol-free drink does not have, unless it's got sugar in actually, does not have an addictive substance in it like alcohol.
Yeah.
So what is really interesting is most club members find that they use quite a few alcohol-free drinks at the beginning of changing their drinking, and then actually they drink less of them. For me, actually, I don't drink an alcohol-free drink every day, but I really do want to take a glass of a bottle of alcohol-free sparkling to a party, so I feel I've got something special. I feel like I'm part of the occasion. I do like it when I go out because I don't like a sickly sweet drink with food, but otherwise at the evening at home I'd much rather have a hot chocolate, for example. So you will find that it may be really helpful at the start of your alcohol-free journey or your cutting down journey to use those drinks, and they're not addictive unless what you're doing is piling in loads of sugar as well, but nearly all of the alcohol-free drinks are lower in sugar.
Which is great news. And as you say, I mean, even just a few years ago, there was nothing like the choice. I mean, there was kind of one bottle of alcohol-free wine that tasted like old vinegar, and there were a couple of beers. And of course, it's grown, exponentially. It's incredible. And I know your mindful drinking festivals are just absolutely amazing. So that's the fantastic news, that we have so much more.
But one thing I would say, Janey, is if you find it makes you want to drink an alcoholic version of that drink, then don't drink it.
Yeah, switch
it's
to
clearly not
else.
For you. And I can tell when I drink alcohol-free wine. And I've not drunk for 7 years now, right? But in a little bit back of my mind's going, I remember this taste. This taste is associated with something that involves being jolly and happy and falling over at the end of the night. And I get a little bit of a placebo effect. Some people find that the sulfates in the alcohol-free wine still affect them the following day. So you need to find what's right for you. I never drank beer when I was drinking. So drinking alcohol-free beer has no association with alcohol for me at all. So, and I would certainly have those on an evening out.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us about these ABV, the very confusing numbering system then.
Right. So I'm going to try not to confuse you. But it is a bit complicated at the moment. Nearly everywhere else in the world, everything that's 0.5% and below is considered alcohol-free. And that's because actually most things that you drink or even eat have some form of alcohol in them. Alcohol is the most common flavour extractor. So anything that's got a flavouring in, for example, is likely to have used alcohol to extract it. You make 2 units of alcohol in your own stomach every day because your stomach goes through a natural fermentation process. It's partly why we can process small amounts of alcohol. It's just we're not designed to process amounts of alcohol you and I might have been doing. So Vinegar's got alcohol in, fruit has got alcohol in, a ripe banana's got about 0.3% alcohol in, and so on. So there is a naturally occurring level of alcohol, and in the whole of the rest of the world, 0.5% is considered alcohol free. It's a half of a 1%, which is a trace amount of alcohol.
Yeah.
Now in the UK, if you produce an alcohol-free beer currently between 0.05 and 0.5, it has to be called low alcohol, but not if it comes in from anywhere else in the world. And it also doesn't have to have an ABV on it if it's not in the alcohol category. And this is partly the fact that we've got this weird new category of drinks that doesn't fit anywhere. So most soft drinks, so Coca-Cola is 0.05% alcohol.
But they don't have to write that on it.
No. Ginger beer can be up to 0.5. Kombucha is generally up to 0.5. Because they're in the soft drink category, they don't have to have it on it.
Yeah.
The same as food doesn't. So there are profiteroles you can get into Waitrose that have a good slug of spirit in them, for example. A cordial can often be 0.5, which obviously you dilute with water, so it becomes a lot lower as a neat product. So not only is it different depending on what drink category a drink is in, it's also different on whether it's made in the UK or comes from abroad. It's actually got all the producers into a tiz.
I bet it has.
Some that come from abroad are so worried that they're going to get it wrong that they've relabeled everything, even though they don't have to. The government doesn't even know the answer. If you go to several lawyers, they'll give you a different answer on what it should be labelled. Big Drop very cleverly doesn't put anything on the front; it just puts the ABV on the back. I met some people who make a kombucha. Their kombucha has a very tiny letters, and it's 1.2% ABV on the back, and it doesn't have any warnings about the fact that it's actually in the low alcohol category. So what I can tell you is this, which is that the government is about to change it at some point. They did change it last Christmas from law to guidance. The reason why they didn't get rid of it totally was because the government seems to be a bit busy with Brexit at the minute, and they ran out of time to deal with
You
it.
do surprise me.
So I do know that the government is having its own problem with this, because they want to promote low and no alcohol as being a good alternative, and they can't do it at the minute because they've managed to tie one arm behind their own back.
Right.
So you have to make a decision that's right for you. So if you feel a half of 1% will make you, is not what you want to do right now, then that's absolutely fine. But I can tell you that you could drink, 10 bottles of Nirvana alcohol-free beer in an evening and still be able to drive home. You wouldn't even be able to, you would process that alcohol quicker than you could possibly drink it. And it won't impact on your blood sugar levels, your blood alcohol levels. Same as if you're pregnant, it's probably got less alcohol in the folic acid you're taking and all those sorts of things. So, but that doesn't mean I want to force you all to drink a 0.5% beer or wine. What I'm saying is you have to make the decision that's right for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have no problems with drinking a 0.5% product because I know it's not going to make me in any way intoxicated. But then for that matter, I will also eat a boozy dessert because I'm not that bothered. But I know some people would steer clear of that. So,
but also, really, you're absolutely right, and thank you for that explanation. It's really helpful, and I think it's interesting as well. Just to explain, some of the amazing choices, because we've talked about beer and wine there, but of course now there are some amazing alternative to spirits. So these various lovely botanical drinks. I mean, and you've got the big players, the big producers, as well as your little artisan breweries and brands. I mean, it really is an incredible market now. I'll just let you cough.
Yeah, it's all right. I've still got the tail end of a cold. Yeah, you're right. And actually on clubsodaguide.com, our aim is to bring you all of the low and no alcohol drinks and then where to find them.
Yeah.
But at the heart of that mobile website is a database of alcohol-free drinks designed for adults, and there are 850 drinks on there.
Wow, amazing.
And it doesn't include Coke and lemonade off a hose. It will include, a craft Coke and a craft lemonade, but it's not got cola and Pepsi and stuff like that on it. And that just shows you that the breadth of drinks that are coming through. Yeah. And they are not all in the alcohol-free space. So like I said, we've got craft sodas on there. So actually what you're looking for is a lower sugar soda, but it doesn't mimic alcohol in any way. Then there is stuff on there as well. It's all about choice. And it's all about asking venues to think about. So the guide is, right, this is all between you and me, Janey, right? But the guide is actually a behaviour change tool to get venues to change what they do.
Yeah.
So underneath the hood is a scoring system, which has been designed by UC, not me, because it involves maths. And based on what venues input into, they have to tag the brands they've now got behind the bar, which is why it's really important we have a big database. And based on what they tag, different drinks are weighted in different ways. And they're allowed to tag that they do a number of alcohol-free cocktails. But it gives them automatically a score out of 5 for how good they are for mindful drinkers. And if they score 5, they get a nice little window sticker to go on their window, and they're easy to find on our guide. And if they don't, we send them regular advice and ideas about how they can get their score up to 5. And we're working with chains nationally, because that's where the decision is made with a national buyer. But we also want people to nominate venues local to them, whether they're restaurants or bars. So this
is where everyone can get involved, basically. Yeah,
and nominate venues. Because if you want to see things change on your high street, the best thing you can do is to shout about all the ones that are really good. Because I can tell you, pubs and bars are highly competitive. And if several on the high street are scoring 5 and one bar isn't, they will definitely want to be scoring 5.
Yeah, absolutely. And what has been the response generally? Have you found that most of the chains or the independents or whatever, is there a real mix in terms of their response to this, their attitude? Have they welcomed this? I mean, God knows they ought to, because they can make a lot more money than us all just having a tap water, right? Have they welcomed it, or are they a little bit cautious because you're trying to kind of change their business model?
Well, actually, I think they're welcoming it. And that's the thing to remember, that the world isn't always against us. Sometimes when you ask, I mean, the worst that anyone can say when you ask for something is no, right? So you can go, would you mind getting me an alcohol-free beer? And the worst thing they can say is no. And then you can come and tell me and I will name and shame them on Twitter. But nearly everybody says, well, that's interesting. What would you suggest? And that sort of stuff. Now, without a doubt, some venues need persuading, because the margin on a Coke is massive. And it's less on a beer. But we've done some research, and this is the other thing that, Club Soda members pay for what we do. So we're doing that research. It says to pubs, the margin may be bigger on a Coke, but people can only manage one of those, whereas they could drink 4 beers. And you know what? If you surprise and delight them, then they will come back again. So in terms of customer loyalty, it's really strong. So it's worth you making some space in your fridge. And without a doubt, pubs and bars have a lot of challenges. The staff turnover is really high. They've got a lack of space for product. They have new reps coming in every day, mainly from the alcohol industry, asking them to stock their product. There's a lot of challenges in the sector. They're operating on quite slim margins. So, but that also provides an opportunity, right, which says, you know what, if you do a really good range of low and no, we think you'll be able to boost your lunchtime trade, because people don't want to drink at lunchtime.
Absolutely.
If you're in a mainly residential area, how many pregnant women could you get in on a lunchtime for a mother's meetup or whatever they do? And we've got some great examples of toddlers groups that now meet in pubs and stuff like that. So it's all about that mix of your venue and what that roof and 4 walls that you've provided could do for a whole load of people at different times.
That's fantastic. And what about, and I know we're kind of racing through it here, but in addition to the pubs and the clubs, you've got then the tricky issue of the functions. And I know you and I have spoken about this a lot, but even just last week, yet again, I went to an event. And in fairness, you could get one like a smoothie, a kind of small little shot of smoothie, but other than that, it was just wine and champagne. And this is a health thing, and I mean, just it constantly exhausts me. And I suppose that's another different sector again, because that's the catering industry, which is slightly different, is it? I know you're working with them as well.
Oh, I mean, I find this whole space fascinating, and I wish I had more time in the day to do more. But there's a couple of other levers. So as a consumer, do speak to your local pub and bar and restaurant. Don't be meek and mild. Ask them very specifically what they've got for adult alcohol-free drink. Be clear about the adult. And I often phone up in advance. I will often ask if I can bring my own. I remind them also that corkage is based on what they would lose from what you would normally buy. And as you're a non-drinker, you wouldn't be buying the wine, even though you may be bringing an alcohol-free wine. You would be buying a Coke. So your corkage is the price of a Coke.
Coke, yeah.
So be an active consumer in that space. There's a nomination button on the front of the guide. But then it's likely that you work in a workplace that's got an in-house caterer. And they're responsible for that really crap orange juice that you get at events, because there's some very old traditions around catering, which is wine and beer comes or sale or return. And then whoever organises the event has to decide how many people might be drinking alcohol-free, which personally I think is the wrong thing to do to start with. Somebody who doesn't know anybody coming has to decide how many people aren't going to be drinking, and the supply is dependent on that.
Yeah.
And then it comes as on non-sale or return, a jug of orange juice and stuff like that. So if you run a business, I suggest that you begin to ask your company to add healthy drinks for receptions in as a condition whenever that contract comes up for renewal.
Absolutely.
And in the meantime, go back and see if your company can ask them to at least improve the range. What happens is all these caterers are big companies, and by the time the person who works in your catering outlet in your business gets a list of things they're allowed to order, it's a very minute list. It's one wine, one beer, orange juice. So you need to keep asking back the other way. I do a couple of things. One is whenever I speak now, I always say I'll only speak if you've got a good range of alcohol-free drinks.
Oh, good for you. That's a great
at the drinks reception.
I'm going to try that.
I spoke at the Law Society on Saturday, and I know who their caterers were, so I knew this wasn't going to be easy. And I was actually quite firm. And although the alcohol-free drinks aren't my preference, in the end they did them. And then when I spoke on stage, I apologised to the organisers for being so tough, but I wanted them to see what the problem was, that they could see that the system is broken and they needed to try and fix it. And I can tell you now, when the Law Society go back and review their catering contract, they will definitely be doing something
remember
about that.
Definitely. I mean, I was just going to say, the other area where, of course, it's uppermost in my mind, because a friend of mine has just been on just been flying and happened to be lucky enough to be flying first class, and just saying what a ridiculous scenario that people are having free drinks on planes all the time. We know that it's actually an offence to be drunk on an aircraft, and yet they're constantly shelling out free, copious amounts of alcohol with almost no alternatives that feel special. I mean, it's
and what they will
crazy.
say is the customer doesn't ask for it, and we've got limited space on the plane. And I say, well, people, you're not offering it, so people don't know you've got an adult, so they are going for compromised Coke. I mean, the other thing I would also say is you may have been to some glitzy affairs in hotels, Janey, because you're that sophisticated media person. And again, the hotel event sector works on a very old-fashioned way, which is it's a 3-course meal and a half a bottle of wine per person that your ticket includes. It means that if you want an alcohol-free drink, you have to go and pay for it.
Go and pay for your cordial.
But somewhere your half a bottle of wine is being drunk by someone else. So I always RSVP to events to say, please don't include the half bottle of wine in mine. I RSVP to every event that says, I'm alcohol-free. I would like a really good adult alcohol-free drink.
I mean, it's exactly what you would do if you had an actual dietary requirement. You'd say what vegan options you have, or gluten-free. It's absolutely right. And I don't think most people do that, Laura. So it's really good that you flagged that up, because that's something that we can all do easily. And when they start getting more of these responses, might start to take some notice. So
and then if you go to an award event at a hotel, once you know that the whole of the premise of the event has been set up on a 3-course meal and a half a bottle of wine, you can actually very specifically say in your email, I do not want the half bottle of wine. Could you provide me something alcohol-free that's very nice instead? And I also take my own, because you're going to an award event. It's all already been paid for. So I want you all to take control, right, of looking online, phoning up in advance, taking the time with the bartender, nominating places that you think are good, putting it in your dietary requirements. In fact, I need to write all this down, right? Don't I? There's a load of stuff here. So I'll have to listen to this podcast.
We'll transcribe it.
So And it's not that you're just making this better for you, you're making it better for the next person that comes along. And I remember one of our members went to a hotel and asked for an alcohol-free beer. And the guy behind the bar says, "No, we don't have an alcohol-free beer. And I wish people would stop asking." And my answer to him as well is, if people are asking, then your customer in the hospitality industry should be getting what they want, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, amazing. Wow, fantastic. That's so helpful, Laura. So just remind us what's in the guide, because just remind us again. I know you've got the drinks, and then you've got pubs and clubs and how well they're rated, yeah?
See, I don't even let you finish your sentences, do I,
Jamie? I know, it's so rude, but I don't mind. I'll talk over you.
Clubsodaguide.com on it has all of the alcohol-free drinks that we know about. If you know that there's something we haven't got on there, then let us know. But you'll be able to click on them, find their website, and also with many of them, and we're beginning to improve this, find out where to buy them online and in the supermarket.
Right.
And then we're slowly building the list of venues that have it. But if you click on like the Heineken Zero picture, you'll be able to go on and see all the places that we've got on there that stock Heineken Zero. Now, what I will tell you is this is a crowdsourced platform. It relies on you guys telling us good places that you found. I'm pressing nominate, or even better, going to and just mentioning to the venue they should sign up themselves. And in fact, we're about to do some little campaign packs soon, so that you can do that. But that way, as well as the big chains, which are really important for us to get on, because I'm now speaking to the buyers in every single big chain, which is a really great thing.
Yeah.
But all those small venues, all those local venues, are your responsibility to help us get on the guide.
Definitely. Now, just one final thing for anyone listening who is not in the UK. I mean, we hear all the time that it seems we're ahead in this.
No, how weird is that?
I've got a lot of listeners in the States who are sort of, oh my goodness, this. I mean, they do pretty well on the kombucha stakes in Canada, don't they? But they don't seem to have the range that we have. Is there any good news for them?
Well, I've been having conversations with people in the States about doing a trade event around alcohol-free to begin to talk to people. But I'm really keen that if anybody comes across a product, that they can email me, laura@joinclubsoda.com, because we're beginning to build a list. I'm also talking to potential people who might help us develop the guide in America as well, so that it becomes something that, bearing in mind, I think, it has the opportunity to be very influential.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm keen to know about drinks, so that at least we can begin to create that list for people. Because, but I'm as astounded as anyone else that Britain's ahead of this movement. Because we could drink America under the table, right, Janey?
There is that, yeah. I'd forgotten about that. How is it that
we've suddenly got?
That was the reason.
Yeah. How is it we've suddenly got all these alcohol-free drinks? And they haven't. Oh man,
amazing.
I can't believe there's a health trend that we're ahead of America on.
Yeah, that does seem incredible, doesn't it?
But it's interesting to know that in Finland and some of the Nordic region is quite good, partly because the state-owned alcohol shops have embraced alcohol-free in their body of drinks. And then Spain and Germany have always been really good around the beers. And that wasn't by accident. That's because some time ago they put some concerted effort into bringing together pregnancy groups, drivers groups, a whole load of people to promote low and no. I want to try and do the same here. It's one of our outcomes from our beer research. So I think there's still some way to go, and I think Australia is only marginally behind us, but there's definitely some really good stuff coming out there.
Yeah,
and again,
fantastic.
If anybody in Ireland or Australia knows somewhere where how we can get the guide funded there, then I have a great dream of an international mindful drinkers guide, which would be really awesome.
Wouldn't that be amazing? I mean, it's amazing that there are, even some bars, you mentioned Ireland, there's a sober bar in Dublin, isn't there? A dry bar in Dublin.
Yeah, the Virgin Mary.
Yeah, and obviously some in London. I know, it's fabulous. I've got one last question for you, actually. Somebody in my group was saying that they're in the relatively early stages of not drinking. And then something really so stressful happened. And it's that one of those things when you just think, oh God, I need a drink. And it's almost your default position is you need a drink. And then you're kind of rifling through the cupboard and obviously the Coke doesn't do it, but even, nothing's going to kind of hit the spot. So what would you say is the the closest, in inverted commas, thing that you can have that kind of gives you a bit of a kick, if you know what I mean, a bit of a, of course you can't numb out. That's the whole idea. We want to stop doing that. But we've all had those feelings, haven't we, of just, and to stop you from hitting the fuck it button, what can we do?
Well, what she's experiencing is discomfort. I do the same with chocolate right now. Yeah. And so what you need to, first of all, you need to know a simple thing to tell yourself when that discomfort strikes, is that it's only temporary and it won't kill you, right? So it won't last forever. You're not going to die. So do something to distract yourself. So it may not be looking for a drink is the right thing. Maybe knowing that there's a person you want to phone, a thing you want to do. I was always very taken by one of our members, Kim, who basically brought so many, with her money she saved for not drinking, bought lots of waterproof disco lights for her bathroom, and used to have very loud clubbing bathroom. She's even got, we've got a video somewhere, it's even got a disco shower head, everything. She's played very loud music. So don't always think it's about finding a drink. It might be something else.
True.
A little sugar hit won't go astray. And I always say to people, don't worry about sugar in the first few months of taking your drinking, and begin to understand that what you're feeling is discomfort, and it will get easier over time. And then you might want to find things that might hit the spot that give you a bit of a natural buzz. So my caffeine intake went up after I gave up drinking, because I wanted something that gave me a feeling of something. You may find some of the new herbal based drinks like Sense of Spirits may make you feel like you're doing something and give you a little buzz. And then I did something once, which is very clever. I don't often do things that are clever, Janey. So I did it by accident. I was stomping around the West End thinking, on a really bad day after work, it was only about 9 months after giving up drinking. And I was like, this is when I'd normally have a gin and tonic. I want a gin and tonic. And I went into Boots, and I spent ages looking around. And then I bought a really ridiculously expensive beauty product. And it had the same effect. I was consuming. I was doing something. But what was even better is next day I went back and took it back and got a refund. Yay! I felt like I had won. I had dealt with that need to consume and do something that was quite extravagant, but also about me. And then I got a refund the following day. So I think that's a win. Do a little bit of
anyone from Boots listening, don't try this at home, folks.
Somebody don't open the product. I looked at it the next day and I thought, what have I bought that for? But that's
You're beautiful enough, Laura. You're beautiful enough.
But it did the job. It's it's interesting to remember that we're in a very consuming society, and whether it's shopping or eating or drinking, we're being encouraged all the time to go and spend money to get a feeling.
Of course.
And so maybe you need to spend your money on something else. Quite and if it's something that comes in a really nice tight wrapping, which means it takes you ages to unwrap, that even better. I mean, a little bit of gadget shopping does it for me as well.
Fantastic, Laura. We really appreciate it, and thank you for all the amazing work you're doing. You're totally inspirational, and we love your knowledge and your enthusiasm and your passion and all the incredible hard work you putting in. So thank you so much, and thank you for sorting out this guide, and keep going. And then next time which will be the third time for the podcast, things will have moved on even more. So we look forward to it.
Brilliant. All right, speak soon, Janey.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you, Laura. So here's hoping things are going to really change in the UK and in other parts of the world. And as we said in that interview, in the Sober Club, I've got a few members from America who kind of say, "Oh wow, it really looks as though it's rocking over there compared to here." And it's bizarre, isn't it, that the UK are ahead of the States in anything, but in alcohol-free drinks, it would seem that we do have an awful lot more choice at the moment. Although I think you guys have probably got more kombuchas. I would say that's fair to say, and Australia too. I think we're a little bit ahead of them. Although they've got some dry bars popping up, I understand. So it is changing everywhere. The trend is growing, and that can only be a really good thing. So as Laura says, let's all kind of do our bit to call out these organisations and big up the good ones, really pat the good ones on the back. I was talking to someone earlier in the week I've started doing some coaching, and I was talking to someone who said that in their local kind of wine bar in Sussex, I think it is, they've got the Bee's Knees sparkling wine actually on sale in the wine bar. Now, that is amazing. Those people need a big up. So we'll find out the name of the bar and make sure that they're included on the club soda guide. So a couple of things I have to tell you about the event on Monday, 28th of October. The Sober Curious event, it's actually for everyone. That's the title that we've chosen, but the event is for anyone. It doesn't matter if you are sober curious or if you've been sober for ages. I think you'll really enjoy the event. It's a talk at Hello Love, which is a little kind of art studio and vegan cafe in Bloomsbury in London. All the proceeds are for the Hello Beautiful Foundation. It's a non-toxic cancer charity. And this is all at the end of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And they have their own, if you like, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, where they focus on health and well-being from a completely non-toxic perspective. So I'm going to be speaking there. And my special guest is Claire Pooley, author of The Sober Diaries. It's going to be just a lovely evening. I love sharing a stage, if you like, with Claire. And we're going to have drinks courtesy of Sensor Drinks. These are the plant-based spirits, in inverted commas, really magical blends. And so the ticket price, I think it's £15, includes a Sensor mocktail and obviously any profits go to the Hello Beautiful Foundation. So it's a great thing that you're kind of contributing to if you're able to come to that event. It would be so lovely to meet some of you podcast listeners. And I know it's so frustrating for some of you guys. You can't get to London. It's a Monday evening and oh gosh, I know it's hard. We'll try to book some events on other days at some point in the future, but it's just the way this one has worked out. So it's Monday, 28th of October. It's at Hello Love in Bloomsbury in central London. We start at 7:00. It'll be hour and a half, something like that, maybe a couple of hours with Sensor Drinks. And in order to get your tickets, you need to go to hellolove.org. I'm just going to check that as I'm actually talking to you here on the podcast. Hellolove.org. And then you click where it says Dojo, Dojo, and then scroll down the list of events. And then you'll see the little blue poster of myself and Claire Pooley, and it says, "Are you sober curious?" And you can book your tickets there. Also, you can just go to thesoberclub.com, and there's a little blog post there that mentions the event, and you can click there, or you can look at the show notes for this podcast, and you'll find the link to get the tickets there as well. So Monday, 28th of October. I would so love to see some of you there. Please try and book those tickets if you can make that happen. And of course, one more mention for the Sober Club. It is open for founder members to join our online community just for a few more days, just till the end of Sunday. And then the idea is that we close the doors and we get lots of feedback and we put even more content in there. And then we'll open up again. But obviously, when we open up again, it will be a higher price. At the moment, it's $9.99 for the month, for every month, and you stay at that price if you remain in the club. So it's ridiculously cheap, and it's incredible value because in addition to all of the other content in the club, including videos from William Porter on cravings and hypnosis stuff, and then we have a relationship expert, and we have nutrition stuff, and we have a naturopath, and in addition to all of that, there's a great online course, Get the Buzz Without the Booze, which is a 90-day online course that people are working through. There's our Facebook community as well, and in addition, when you sign up, you get a hypnosis download called De-Stress Your Life, and that's a hypnosis audio courtesy of Elsa Frank, hypnotherapist Elsa Frank, and the cost of that hypnosis audio is $9.99. So what's not to like? So thesoberclub.com if you would love to join us, and we would love to have you in there. By the way, if you go to thesoberclub.com, you can hear all the podcasts as well, by the way. I mean, without joining the club, you can hear all of the previous podcasts. If you only just found us, please go and have a listen to all of the others. There's a few blog posts there. And I think there's just about still time to enter some of our competitions for alcohol-free drinks, or we might be closing them, in which case we'll get some more for you. So thank you so much for listening, and thank you for those of you who've already joined the Sober Club. We love having you involved and connecting with you. It's been absolutely fantastic. Don't forget, if you haven't already, connect with me on Instagram. It's at Janey Lee Grace, and on Facebook as well, and Twitter, and all of those usual places. And now, of course, you can find me at thesoberclub.com. And I'll see you same time next week. Give yourself a big hug. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast. I'm Janey Lee Grace. Please go to thesoberclub.com, listen to more podcasts, read our blogs, enter our competitions, grab yourself a free PDF, Self-Care in Sobriety, and check out our online community